This is an introduction to Blender, the simplest forum to get started with our projects. What I wanted to show you is that at the startup you have a Blender intro screen here which you can click off to the side and will go away. But I wanted to point out that Blender does not save automatically. Even when you close it, it does not ask you to save. So it's very important that you save your project often as you can. However, if you do close it out, you can find Recover Last Session, which will open your last session if you are the last user to use this program. So be cautious about saving your project. Now that I got that out of the way, click off the screen and look at your stage. You will notice that we have three objects on the stage and a grid. We have a cube, camera, and a light source. If we right click on either one of them, we select them. Right click is select inside of Blender. If you want to move an object, you use the arrows. I want to highlight the feature of the light source and the camera. The camera shows the object in render mode, which is F12 on your keyboard. Notice the block has a dark side and lit sides. This is just the camera view. If we move the camera over and choose F12, the block moves slightly to the left. This is for creating pictures at the very end of your process or animation. Also, the light source. If I move the light source over to this side of the block and choose F12, notice the block does not have a dark side. "3D modeling involves 3D objects. And the idea here is that you can create your object in 3D and you can choose to process it using a camera and have the camera move around the 3D object. That is how animation is done. For today, I'm just going to introduce the basics of Blender to help you get started understanding the program, and then we will go into our project. So right click on the cube. Notice the cube, you can move up and down using the arrow keys, but you can also grab and move the block around every which way. I don't recommend that, as many of the objects that you're going to work on, you're going to want to be precise in your movements. So get in the habit of using the arrow keys to move up and down the X and Y axis and the Z axis as well. If you would like to rotate, you can come down to the rotate widgets, which allow you to rotate the object in either direction. If you want to rotate on the Z axis, you press Z, you grab the red or the blue, and you can see how your object rotates. If you like to scale your object, down below here, you can choose the scale widget, which allows you to scale your object in either direction using the colors. These three widget tools are a go-to if you're ever stuck and need some assistance on how to move an object. However, there are easier ways to do that. You can use this S key for scale, which scales the entire object. If you choose S and then the letter X, it'll scale it in the X direction. S, then Y, it'll scale it in the Y direction. S, then Z, it'll scale it in the Z direction. it's very common to use key commands instead of using the widget tools below. If you would like to rotate the object, the same goes with the R key. Rotate by itself will rotate it in random directions, which is kind of hard to work with. If you're going to rotate your object, I recommend choosing R plus the letter X, which rotates it in the X direction. R then Y, which rotates in the Y direction. R then Z, which rotates it in the Z direction. So we've looked at rotation and scale. Next, I'd like to highlight a very important part, which is object mode on the bottom here versus edit mode. These two modes you're going to be using interchangeably often. Object mode allows you to move your object in any which direction, scale it, rotate it, and such. But edit mode allows you to actually change your object. So while in edit mode you notice everything is highlighted currently, and if you right click, down below there are three selections you can choose from: the vertices, the sides, or the edges and the sides. If I choose the vertices and I right click on a vertex and I grab and pull it, you'll see it manipulates the object. If I choose the side and I right click on one of the sides and pull on it, notice that it changes that as well. And of course the faces I could also change. It's not obvious now, but if we had more sides to work with, you would see the difference. The important part to remember is that edit mode is different from object mode. Object mode allows you to move things up and down and to the side. Edit mode allows you to actually change your object. On the left hand side in edit mode you have more choices to work with. For now, let's try subdivide. Subdivide allows me to choose how many times I'd like to divide. If I choose the faces and I right click on the face and pull on it, I'm going to get a distorted object. Notice how this shape also goes along with it. However, I'm going to undo that, and instead I'm going to choose extrude. Extrude allows you to pull on the object and actually create new shapes. If I subdivide this side into more regions, I right click on one and I choose extrude, it's going to, oops, got lost on that one. Oops. If I choose extrude, I should be able to pull that object up, which I'm having a difficult time at the moment. Extrude. It's going the wrong way. There we go. As you can see, that's how you manipulate your objects. To move the entire object, you need to go back to object mode. Remember, you can scale that down, you can scale it up in object mode, but if you want to make changes, you need to go to edit mode. Practice that for a while. And F12 will show us our object in relation to the camera, and right now it doesn't look so hot, but we have many other things we can do from here. Escape gets you out of that view of the camera. F12, view of the camera. Escape gets you out of that view. Another important thing to remember is that while you're in edit mode, you don't want to add more objects. If I'm in object mode and I go to add and I add a new object and I leave edit mode back to object mode and try to move them separately, I will not be able to. Edit mode is reserved for adding components to that object only. So if I'm to add another object, I would need to be in object mode, add, and I add another cube, and I can move it around, and I can select on my other object, move it around as well. To prepare for our project, you're going to want to delete both objects. To delete both objects, right-click, select on one, hit the delete key, choose delete. Right-click, select the other one, hit the delete key, choose delete. You need to put your cursor in the middle of the room to get ready for our next project activity.